Welcome to this quick virtual presentation on, well, virtual presentations. Whether it's your next company meeting or a killer sales presentation that you want to deliver, at Technology Source, we've got you covered. Hi, my name is Sonya Meline with Technology Source. Many of you know me from the virtual roundtable series that we've been delivering to you each week from Technology Source. And on those presentations, every week we interview top tech executives and we ask them the hard-hitting questions and get answers that you want to know about. So, you're here to learn some of the secrets to delivering an outstanding and engaging virtual presentation. If you only take away one or two key points from today's training, you're going to be that much closer to getting the results that you're looking for. So when COVID-19 hit, many of you, like us at Technology Source, we had to cancel all of our in-person events, and we shifted to digital events. Since that time, we've held dozens of these live trainings and events. We call them roundtables, and we've learned a thing or two, and we have had hundreds of businesses that have attended these events, and after every single event, I think it's really important to ask, how did we do? Give us feedback. And so we've asked for that honest feedback. We've asked and we've listened. And so today's lineup consists of some of the most outstanding presenters that we've had on our virtual events. How do we know? You told us. You, our audience. Today, you're going to hear from Windstream Enterprise, Intelligent IP, Masergy, 8x8, as well as top presenters from our team right here at Technology Source. To start off, we have our very own Stephanie Mountain from Technology Source. Stephanie, you've kicked off almost half a dozen virtual meetings for us at Technology Source. Can you give us a little bit of background on kind of what we need to do as we're preparing the audience for the meeting, including things like housekeeping?
Welcome, and thank you guys for joining. My name is Stephanie Mountain, and I'm with Technology Source, and we're here to provide you with some content around providing engaging virtual presentations when you host online webinar sessions. So what we like to do is give people a few moments to get signed in. Sometimes people are straggling behind, so you want to kind of fill the first few minutes. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, things like that. Make sure everybody's signing in before you start your content. Be sure to let everyone know that if you are recording, you do say that at the beginning so that they know that the session's being recorded. And then invite them to chat. So you want them to send in questions, good morning and greetings and things like that to make sure that they feel like it's an engaging and interactive presentation. Again, we're just here to provide some tips and tricks on how to keep people engaged and provide really in-depth but also interactive virtual presentations. Thanks for joining us.
Great ideas. All right, next let's hear from Brad Daniels with Windstream Enterprise. Let's ask Brad this. Brad, how do we select the right presentation platform to make sure that we have an outstanding experience for our audience?
Hi, my name's Brad Daniels. I'm a senior sales engineer with Windstream Enterprise. Simplicity is a good example of what people want, easy to use. Is it easy for their customers or their business partners to use, right? So is it easy for us to join? Over the years, there's been lots of video platforms that have had different levels of access, and we think our platform is very simple and easy to use. So one of the things that we're looking at nowadays is simplicity and ease of use for the collaboration tools, so that not only the users, but the business partners and customers can easily join and use the application so that they're comfortable and easy to use. So we like our HD meeting. It's built on the Zoom platform. However, there's got some features about it that we think is an improvement over the Zoom model, and the fact that we have our own sandbox environment that we maintain. We do not use the zoom.com domain. We have our own. So it's less known or unknown. And then also we have several security features. We do offer the encryption on there, so you have encrypted end to end. And then the other part of that is we've got some safety tips that we would encourage, for best practices for your meetings. So being able to set a meeting password when scheduling meetings is a good best practice. Disabling the join before host, so attendees can enter the meeting before the host. Enable a co-host allows you to assign others to help moderate. Disabling file transfer within the application and instead use a cloud sharing platform like OneDrive or Dropbox to do those file transfers. And then we want to probably disable allowed removed participants to rejoin so booted attendees can't sneak back in. enabling the waiting room to see who's trying to enter so that you can moderate and control who enters your meeting room. And then we can lock that meeting once we've got our attendees that we want into the room so no others can join. And then lastly, using randomized ID meeting codes instead of your phone number, which is common, I think, with Zoom. And I do the same thing with mine. But if you use the random ID meeting, that cuts down on the ability for somebody to be able to reuse a meeting ID that was done before. So with all these things, why Windstream, right? So we have an unparalleled product suite offerings, including SD-WAN, hosted UCaaS, and contact center. That includes 3 different flavors that we offer, including our own homegrown office suite, of which HD Meeting is part of that suite. Managed network security, managed Wi-Fi solutions with analytics, LAN service, DDoS prevention. And this is all run over our own internal fiber network of 150,000 miles on MPLS. So I appreciate you letting me speak here. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next up, we have Seth Dubois from Telligent IP. Here's our next question. All right, Seth, you guys scored really high on delivering your presentation, but what did you guys do beforehand? You know, that initial conversation with your audience that happens, and maybe the audience doesn't even know it happened.
So my name is Seth. I'm a senior sales engineer with Telligent IP, and I want to talk a little bit today about communicating with your audience before your session. There's lots of ways that we get communicated with in the current business scenarios. You get emails, you have social media interactions, LinkedIn. One of the newer ways that we are really enjoying interacting with people is through text message. We love that we can send mass text messages out to many, many people, and you can do that before your session. Not everybody answers their emails immediately or sees them quickly. Not everybody's on social media all day, but most of us have our phone within an arm's reach all day long. You see that text message, you're able to answer that text message or interact with that text message in some way. With the Telligent Interactive solution, you've got the ability to be able to click on a link that takes you directly into the application where you're meeting, to be able to look at a picture that might be marketing material or maybe a funny joke to prepare your audience before your meeting. You might also have contact information, phone numbers or email addresses where people can directly interact from their cell phone with that text message. They can also send you a text message back and you can have a conversation. You can do all those things before your session to prime your audience and get them ready for this wonderful online meeting you're going to have. One of the other really important things that you want to do with your online meeting is make sure you start on time. Time is precious for all of us. We all have a limited amount of it that we're using during the day. And you want to be sure that you're respectful of people. Start on time, be prompt, make sure that the information that you're giving them is valuable and allows them to be able to recognize that you value their time and are giving them pieces to succeed in their life. Thanks for spending some time with us today and hope your meeting goes great.
Okay, that was great information. Next up, we have Rich Korn from Masergy. Rich, we've got a question for you. How do you develop your content? And where do you get great statistics that will help you deliver awesome presentations?
So, Rich Korn from Masergy Communications, Security Product Specialist. When you're running any kind of a virtual-based meeting, content is critical, and you have to have content that's going to be relevant to your audience, and you need to get to that content as quickly as possible. It's way too easy for attendees to be multitasking in a virtual meeting. I mean, they're not paying attention to what you're saying, so you have to hold their attention at all given points in time. How do you know what content is right? You ask before the meeting. Second important thing is statistics. If you're going to use a statistic, make sure that's something that's going to be relevant and differentiate what messaging you want to get across. For example, if you come in and just say that 83% of all SD-WAN buyers are concerned about security, that doesn't do you any good. It doesn't differentiate you, and it's something they could go find anywhere. Taking something that they might not be thinking about that's going to help differentiate you in the rest of the industry, that's important. For example, if I were to say that the SANS Institute said 76% of the most damaging breaches came from within an organization, people with trusted credentials. What that tells you is that a zero trust methodology, as important and good as that is, isn't enough. So people like Masergy Communications that can add the detect and respond, the behavioral analytics component and the monitoring to a zero trust model, to an actual security-based model, that's something that's going to differentiate you in the industry. That's an effective use of a statistic. This is Rich Korn from Masergy Communications, hoping you have a wonderful meeting.
Okay, that was such good information, and I love that content development strategy. Next up, we have Mr. Rob Olson from our very own Technology Source. Okay, Rob, here's what we want to know. Can you just give us your top 5 on the best way to deliver a presentation?
Hi, this is Rob Olson with Technology Source. Today we'll be covering the 5 keys to meeting success. We see a lot of presentations at Technology Source from our providers, and there's 5 things that really seem to stand out amongst the best. Number 1, they start by sharing the objective of the meeting. What will we accomplish today? This will help focus your audience and put things in context. Number 2, always know your audience before you talk to them, right? Are these end users or salespeople? Are these financial people versus IT staff? And what is their level of expertise and experience with your technology? You may want to limit acronyms and technical speak if they're entry-level folks. Number 3, always state your differentiators. This is your value proposition. This is your pitch, right? Share your sweet spot and talk about when we should contact you for help. The last thing you want is people calling you repeatedly and you having to continuously say, no, we can't support that. Don't read off product features, talk about the benefits of your services and your products. Number 4, always know your competition, neutralize their selling points. Demonstrate why your company is the answer without naming the competition. And finally, don't show up and throw up. Drive engagement. I find that introductions prior to the call, brain teasers all help to get people talking and engaged. I also find that calling out to folks by name is a great way to drive engagement and kind of make sure that people express their understanding of the information presented and ask any questions you may have. Well, that's the top 5. These are the things the best presenters do. Do these and be the best. This is Rob Olson, Technology Source. Thank you.
Such good information. We've learned how to start out with the right platform. We've learned how to introduce your event, how to reach out to your audience, how to develop great content with awesome statistics, and how to use those stats effectively. We've also heard Rob's top 5. Okay, what would a great virtual presentation be without our virtual presentation master, Caden de Medeiros? Caden has gone through editing over a dozen of our presentations after they've been delivered, and from these he's taken a few key points that he wants to share with you today to make you look like a total pro.
Howdy y'all, my name is Caden de Medeiros, the video editor for Technology Source, and I wanted to share some tips to make your digital presentation better. Tip number 1 is to maximize your computer screen. So whether it's unpinning the taskbar from the bottom of your screen, or there can be desktop apps like HP, Cisco, things like that are always showing no matter what screen you're on. So you need to make sure and hide those. And then some people rely a little bit too much on the slides that they are presenting, and the audience likes to see who is presenting. So if you could somehow switch from using the slides and going back to engaging with the audience with your face, that would be great and comforting to everybody. Those are the tips that I have for making your virtual presentation better. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. Good luck with your virtual presentation.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. There's a few powerful ideas left that we want to communicate with you. I'm so excited to tell you a few things myself that I've learned while doing these virtual presentations. Before I share these tips with you, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go and grab a pen and a piece of paper. Seriously, you'll see why. You got it? All right, good. All right, cool. So the reason I asked you to do this is, really it's about something you can do for your audience. Have them grab a piece of paper and a pen, and that way, as you're going through your presentation, you can have them write things down. This is good for many reasons. For one, it reaches through this sort of virtual environment into their physical world and helps you connect with your audience on that level. 2, anytime people write something down, it helps them remember it. And then 3, they can refer back to their notes after your presentation to remember what you said. Okay, first thing to write down is this. Consider your professional appearance, whatever that means to you. You've seen a lot of the presenters on today's virtual presentation wearing their logo shirts. I think those are great. Also, you might want to consider dusting off your work clothes. I know some of those are hanging in our closets, and it's good to keep our local dry cleaners in business during this time. So why not work on wearing nice, presentable clothes for your audience? I think it's really important to dress as if you were speaking to them in person. Another thing I want you to write down on your piece of paper is to consider, rather than thinking of yourself as a presenter, thinking of yourself as having a conversation with your audience. How do we do that? Well, as much as I love TED Talks, this is kind of the opposite of that, right? We want to ask the audience questions. We want to ask live questions and take those questions live. Personally, it's a skill. It's not something that everyone can do, but if you can do it, it's great. A lot of times when I'm delivering a presentation, I will actually offer gift cards or some sort of prize to the audience if they're asking good questions. And just to me, that really shows the audience, like, I'm not kidding. This is really a conversation. I really want to engage with you. Another thing you might want to write down on your paper is be authentic. Whatever that means to you, but for me, that means, let's just face it, people are so tired of virtual meetings right now. Go take a look at your Facebook or even LinkedIn, and you'll see tons of memes that are kind of mocking these virtual events, and for good reason. They can be really dry and they can be really boring, and one way you can spice that up or kind of bring the audience into your presentation is to kind of share what's going on in your environment. Maybe my dog is sitting over on the couch being super cute and he's snoring. It's okay to mention those types of things. I don't think that they should monopolize the entire presentation, but it is important to kind of share from your heart kind of what's going on around you and bring people into your world for a little bit so they can kind of get outside of their head and kind of absorb whatever information you're trying to share. Also, it can be really hard to engage with a speaker who has poor camera placement, these types of things. We've all seen the SNL skits and they're super funny for a little bit, but if you have to sit through an hour of those types of presentations, it can be really frustrating. So make sure you have good camera placement and just make sure that it is level with your eyes. So the camera, if it's level with your eyes, you should have pretty good camera placement. So just write that down, camera level with eyes, and you should be good to go. I also think lighting is key, but I don't want to get too crazy here. Another tip to write down is be sure you think of a good lineup for your event. For example, this event, we went in reverse alphabetical order. You can kind of come up with a structure for the event that suits your needs, and just remember that that's going to mean a lot to your audience and to your presenters that you actually thought to, structure out the event to help them. Plus, this also helps you know when your part is, and everyone else on the presentation will know when their part is. Okay, so those are just some of my ideas. Now I think that it's time that we talk about delivering compelling stories that will connect to your audience and just help you really engage. So to share insight on this, we'd like to hear from Justin Robbins at 8x8. And the reason I want you to hear from Justin Robbins is because he does an outstanding job at connecting with his audience through storytelling. Take it away, Justin.
My name's Justin Robbins. I'm the communications evangelist at 8x8. If you've never heard of 8x8, we're a cloud communications company that enables voice, video chat, contact center, APIs, all on one platform. I actually came away to 8x8 through an adventure that led me leading customer experience teams, but for a long time actually had me as a speaker in the customer experience space. And I got into being a speaker because I was infatuated by speakers who told really great stories. In fact, I can actually remember the moment I fell in love with storytelling. I was just a kid and I was at my local library, and Hal Pratt, one of the librarians, was a master storyteller. The thing that captivated me about Hal and his ability to just kind of capture anyone within the story was telling was he did so many interesting things, and it wasn't just about taking on the voice of the character, but it was about how he would emphasize certain words or get into a hushed tone in other parts of it. And it just captivated me. And it was in that moment that I started to be a fan of studying storytelling and actually came to discover that you and I learn best through story. It's also part of why we love music so much and why we love movies so much is we are hardwired, our brains are fixated on story. And so for being a presenter, one of the best ways that not only can you get the audience on your side, but you can get them engaging in the point that you're making is by telling a story. And so for me, when I'm presenting, I'm always looking to a story that helps capture the greater truth for my presentation. In fact, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given about story is any story that you tell, you always want it to be 100% truthful, but it maybe is only 60 to 75% factual. And here's what matters about that. At the end of the day, you want to use story to not only get your audience on your side, but to help them conceptualize and see the value in the greater truth that you're trying to get across. And you know what? If you have to fudge just a few of the actual events to ensure that that 100% truth comes across, that's okay too. So use story because it engages your audience in a unique way. And frankly, as a presenter, you're actually going to be more comfortable in front of your audience by telling us a story that you're familiar and comfortable with. I think about doing everything with intentionality. So if I'm going to tell a certain story, I want to first ask the question of what's the point of the story? What am I hoping to have people do as a result of it? I take the same approach when I'm creating my slides. And for me, if and when I choose to use slides, it's all about what is the impact, what is the lasting memory or the key word that I want the audience or the listener to focus on. For example, one of the stories that I tell is about a trip to Tiffany's in which a good friend of mine is trapped on the elevator. And one of my slides is very simply this picture of the elevator with this bride and her bridesmaids crammed into it with the time that they got trapped. And then the next slide is the same picture and the time has changed to 2.5 hours later. And part of it is because I want people to have that visual of what it's like to be in that experience. But also the key thing I'm trying to get across is a lot of time has passed. In another story, I might talk about landing on the front page of the USA Today with one of the companies I was with. And the words on the slide are that it's the most widely distributed newspaper in the United States. Right? For me, it's about what's that key thing that, or the image that I want instilled in people's minds. That's what I design my slides for. It's about reinforcement and impact. The contrast of that is having a lot of text on your slide. And the point of having a lot of text on a slide is because you want someone to read, you want them to have all the details. But when you're presenting, that's your job as the speaker. Your job is to give them all of the details. Your job is to elaborate. And so that slide that you might be showing, that's your reinforcement. That's the key idea, but it shouldn't be the place where your audience is getting the bulk of their information. Go forward to delivering this and all of your future presentations. Here's what I want you to keep in mind. At the end of the day, people have the opportunity to hear and to listen so many things. And at the end of hearing and listening all of those things, whether it's your presentation, the meeting that they were just out of, or the thing that they're going to next, they're only going to retain a small portion of that. And so to ensure that you've got a great presentation coming ahead, remember to focus on what is if there were only 1 to 2 things that they take away from your session, know going into it, what do you want those things to be, and continue and to focus and tell stories that bring them to those key points. And so I wish that you tell the best stories as you move ahead and that you get feedback from your crowds that of all the things that they remember, of all the things that impacted them, it was the fact that you were able to tell a compelling story that helped them realize or think about that greater truth that you were going for. So have a great presentation and I wish you the best of luck.
Now it's time for you to go out and get an engaging virtual presentation started. But before you go, just a few words from our very own Stephanie Mountain. She's going to close us out on final thoughts on how to deliver a great close to your virtual event.
So in closing, we just want to go over some closing action items that you might want to review as you do housekeeping. At the beginning, you kind of want to summarize and wrap up and close out at the end. So be sure that you're going to mention that you'll follow up with everybody that attended with a recording to the session. So that way they have a link to it if they want to go back and reference it. And that way they know they're also getting follow-up from at least somebody on the call so that they can ask questions. Then be sure to point out that they can share that link with anyone who they think might find it relevant. A lot of times people have colleagues that couldn't attend, or they work with other people that might actually find the content relevant and they can watch it on their own time. And then lastly, you might want to mention your next upcoming events. So close out the session, make sure that they know what's on deck for next week or over the next month, so that you can drive attendance and keep their attention and keep people coming back to view your content. So those are some closing action items, and thank you guys for your time today. We appreciate it. Personal items about yourself and include your family. This is my family, personalized content, so include aspects about yourself. It keeps it fun. Bye from Technology Source. Bye.
Thank you for watching, and please make the world a better place for virtual meetings everywhere and share this video.